In this video, this consciousness will talk like it's ego. Yo, what's really good with y'all niggas? It's your boy, it's Langston, coming at y'all with another video. I'm a little tired right now, you can probably see it on my face, but I'm a little tired. I've been working hard, I've been grinding, I've been on my grind, man. Grinding, working, everything, man. I had something in my head, and I just wanted to let it out, Before we get into that though, I just wanted to let y'all know, I know I'm not uploading every day, right? It's cause partly because I don't really care, honestly. But I am, of course, I'm not gonna quit YouTube, but I have a lot of ideas in my head, right? I have a lot of ideas in my head, I got a bunch of notes written down. Okay, I'm gonna make a video about this. I'm gonna have the whiteboard for that. Don't worry, we got like a bunch of bangers coming soon. We got How to Identify Low Self-Esteem Part 2. I'm still working on that video. We got banger after banger after banger coming, right? I've been working hard, right? I just don't upload too often, because I used to have that problem, right? Last year I was uploading like 2 videos every day. I just wanted to be successful. I wanted that shit bad, man. I wanted that shit so bad that it's not even funny. But when you go in with that mindset, right, the universe will humble you. The universe will enlighten you, right? Because at the end of the day, we came into this physical experience to be free from results. We came to just enjoy the physical experience. You get the results faster, right, when you don't think about them. That's how life works. That's the law of attraction, right? But I wanted to talk about, recently, my new perspective on life, because of my devotion to the deity, the spiritual deity, because of my consistent hard work and shit, I realized like life is just all about, like I said, devotion and detachment. That's how you get your results in life. I'm gonna say it again. You get your results in life through devotion and detachment. You gotta devote yourself to consciousness, because that's who you truly are. Devote yourself to the spiritual deity, the gods and goddesses that exist in the universe, right? And have that sense of detachment. Just do everything because you're just enjoying the physical experience. You're just enjoying being divine consciousness in a vessel. You don't let your ego weigh you down. You don't let like negativity weigh you down. You don't let people say words that's gonna affect your internal being, right? Realize that your internal being is what manifests the physical reality, right? So why would I let external factors, right, affect me? But yeah, I wanted to talk about some spiritual leaders such as Ramana Maharshi, Gandhi, and Jesus. Jesus Christ was a spiritual leader. This nigga was a yogi, right? But it's just these people, right? They had the world at their feet, right? But they were just so free from the results, right? They were just doing things just out of devotion and detachment. Gandhi, spiritual powerhouse, right? This nigga had the world at his feet, right? He because of his traits of just devotion and detachment. Same thing with Ramana Maharshi. This nigga would just sit down all day and do nothing. This nigga was a rock, right? God, he had wisdom like a motherfucker, right? Because of his sense of detachment, right? This man was a fucking avaduta. This man didn't give a fuck about nothing but consciousness, because that's who we truly are, right? Our egos, our little fantasies, right, is just for entertainment, right? Eventually I will, go back into my ego. Eventually I will, I do interact with the world and shit. I do like talk to people and shit, but for the most part, right, I'm on my grind. I'm on my solo dolo journey. I'm celibate and shit. I'm on semen retention, all type of shit, bro. I'm doing my thing, bro. I'm doing my thing. Like, I still talk to people, of course, because human beings, we're social creatures, right? I was talking to my neighbor, right? She's an attractive woman or whatever, right? She wanted to smoke with me on the spot, right? You trying to smoke, right? I was like, nah, it's currently, of course not. Like currently right now, during the time of this recording, the 9 nights of the goddess is going on, right? If you know, you know. Today we're gonna worship. Tonight is night 7, right? So the next 3 nights we're gonna worship Goddess Saraswati, right? But besides all that, I told her straight up, I'm celibate right now. I'm not trying to smoke. Even if I wasn't celibate, I'm not trying to smoke or drink. I'm on a fast right now, and I'm just out of devotion, right? Detachment, right? I don't care about any worldly concerns right now, right? Because I'm working on myself. I'm manifesting a supreme being into the physical reality, right? That's how you become a powerful person, right? Through spirituality, right? Now, when you do, like I said, when you're doing the spiritual practices and shit, right? You got to do them completely free from the results, and then you'll be like, oh wow, I can really just, manipulate the physical reality, right? But I was just thinking, right, as you know, on your journey of spirituality, on your journey of detachment, you're gonna have haters, right? You're gonna have people like that's gonna push negativity towards you. You're like, what the fuck you doing with your life? I already know what people are trying to say when they try to belittle me, trying to, be condescending, right? They know that I'm on the right path. They know I'm doing everything that I can to, have the best life possible, right? Because I do have the best life possible. My life is basically perfect, damn near, right? Just like a lot of things just haven't manifested into the physical reality yet, right? It happened, right? It already happened, I've been in, phases, right, where I had completely killed my ego and I was able to be in that state of bliss. When you're in that state of bliss, you can manifest whatever you want into the physical reality. So, nigga, my dream life, nigga, that shit happened, right? That shit happened. It's just a matter of time. All I gotta do is practice devotion and detachment, Just be a good person and shit. Don't be reactive. Be on my P's and Q's and shit. I'm not gonna let people run over me, of course. But, I'm gonna be doing my thing, you feel me? But, I had this in my head, right? A lot of people who go to church, right? A lot of people that devote themselves to Jesus Christ, right? By the way, the book, the Holy Bible, the Greek word of the Bible, right? Because Greek is an older language than English is, and the Greek translation of Bible is Helios Biblios, right? What does Helios mean? Helios means sun, right? So the Holy Bible is the sun book. The whole Bible, right, is a book about the zodiac constellation, right? So Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ is a spiritual deity that represents the sun, right? The book is dead ass, like, it's like there's some good shit in the Bible, right? But the book is dead ass like a book about astrology. It's a book about the universe, right? So the Holy Bible is just like it's another form of spirituality, right? And it's just so ironic, right? How like all these worshipers of Christ, right? In a sense, right? I'm not a worshiper of Christ, right? I respect others that do. It's good to have faith, right? But it's crazy how like these people, right? They worship Christ, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is an allegorical metaphor for the sun, right? I'm gonna try and like implement some allegorical references that show how Jesus Christ represents the sun, right?
Get Jesus. Jesus is basically a representation of the sun. Now, they show you this in many ways. They show it to you in the Bible, and they show it to you all over the world. People just can't put it together because they don't know what to look for. Now, let me show you how they throw this stuff in your face in ways that's harder to see than others. Now, this is the cross of the zodiac. Now, if you ever look at the cross of the zodiac, you always see that there's a sun in the middle. Now, this sun represents Jesus, or represents God. Now, basically what you have is on December 21st begins the winter solstice. Now, from December 22nd to December 25th, the sun is dead. It basically does not move. And that's how the ancients saw it. They saw it as the sun dying on December 22nd because it didn't move for 3 whole days. On December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree north. So it is said in the Bible, Jesus rose on the 3rd day and he died on the cross. It's not so much a cross, it's the cross of the zodiac, not a physical cross. And he rose on the 3rd day. He was born again. So it says Jesus' birthday is on December 25th, Christmas. It means he was born again on December 25th. The reason why they make his risen day Easter, which is in the springtime, is because Easter, or the spring, it begins when the sun is on the equator. It's at the midpoint of the earth, and it starts its way back. It marches, then springs towards summer. So the sun is at the equator around springtime. And that's why I said Jesus rose again, because you start seeing the miracles of the sun during the spring. So what happens? The lakes melt, and you start to see the sun walking on water. What else happened? Plants grow. It bring the dead alive. The dead plants come back to life. What else happened? You have grapes. Now, you have the sun creates rain. So it rains on these grapevines and they grow grapes. So basically you have the sun changing water into wine. So the vineyards start to grow grapes. And it is divine, or the vine on the grapevine. So it's not a play on words. This is all where they get this stuff from. And because you think it's play on words, because your mind is not putting this stuff together, you don't see how easy it is to figure out where they got these stories from. Now, Jesus had 5 wounds. He had one in each hand, he had one in each foot, and he had the one in the rib, the one that it said that basically killed him. Those 5 wounds represent the 5 winter months, or the 5 months that the sun is at its lowest point. So you have October, November, December, January, February. The 5 months. That's what they represent. Now, if you look at the zodiac, you can see where those months would fit. Then you get to March, and then the sun marches up, springs back into action, and heads to its highest point, which is the summertime, when it's really warm, when everything starts to happen. Okay, so just look at the cross of the zodiac. If you ever look at the cross of the zodiac, you'll always see in the middle that circle, or the sun is there. So if you take just that cross out, you'll have what you see at the top of churches. Most churches have that cross, and it's always that circle there. That circle represents the sun, because it's the sun on the cross of the zodiac. That sun is Jesus, which is why when you see pictures of Jesus, you see the sun behind his head, or the halo. The crown of thorns that they put on his head represents the sun rays of the sun. This is where it all comes from. It is not a play on words. This is where they got the story from. If you do your research, if you just read the Bible, you'll see exactly what they have done. Okay, so let's look at the Bible. The Bible hints a lot about this. They give you little hints, little clues, trying to tell.
But it's crazy how, like, people who worship Christ, these niggas, they do everything in their power to avoid the sunlight. Y'all niggas know, right, that the sun is what this character is based off of, right? The sun is going to give you all the answers. The sun is going to give you all your powers, right? Especially if you melanated, right? I'm not really going to get into that, right? I do believe that, you know, there's some people say that people who are not melanated, right? People who are like white people and shit, they say that white people can't get sunlight, right? But when I was in my spiritual psychosis, right? When I went to like a mental health hospital, right? I was sun gazing outside, right? And this white woman, she sat next to me. She started sun gazing with me. She's like, yeah, you know, the sun, you know, I love the sun. It's good for vitamin D and shit. Like, this woman was an old ass white lady sun gazing with me. I'm like, all right, maybe the sun is for people who are not melanated. I don't really know. I don't give a fuck, because I'm inside of my own body. I know I'm melanated. I know that the sun works for me 100%. You know, as you know, like every 8 minutes and 20 seconds, right, that you sit in the sun, you get a cosmic download from the universe, right? So what's 60 minutes divided by 8, right? That's about like 7, right? So if you sit down in the sun for 1 hour, you're gonna get 7 cosmic downloads straight from the universe, right? So all the answers really are inside of your head. You just gotta do the right thing. Of course, it's good to, you know, read books and shit. You know, this is the Upanishad. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, the Upanishads, right? But yeah, you know, it's a book about, you know, detachment and shit. It's a book, you know, it's a bunch of scriptures from the sages and stuff, the old sages, the old gurus and shit. You know, it's a great book. You know, I'll be reading this book. So, you know, I started reading books and shit. I still be getting, like, you know, teaching from internet gurus and shit, internet spiritual gurus on Patreon and shit. You know, I try to extract as much information as possible. I try to, you know, get as much wisdom and devotion just as possible, right? You know, because I feel like that's just the whole point of life, right? Just to be like the best version of yourself that you can be. Basically, to be perfect, right? You know, some people say, oh, it's not good to strive for perfection because nothing is perfect, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, right, you know, I'm gonna just try and be the best version of myself that I can be, right? Have all the knowledge, have, like, you know, like the best body I can have, right? You know, working out, you know, have the best, like, mouthpiece when it comes to talking to people and shit. The thing about all this spirituality, right? The thing about all these spiritual practices, right? The whole point of all this shit is to manifest a supreme being, right? To manifest a supreme being in the physical reality, right? You manifest that supreme being in the physical reality, right? by, you know, detaching your ego from consciousness. And, you know, so basically it's just like a constant battle of ego and consciousness, right? You know, once you expand your consciousness, right, you're going to detach from the personality, right? But once you detach from the personality, it's actually going to make the personality better, right? Look at these spiritual leaders. Let me use Jesus Christ for example, right? Jesus Christ was a spiritual yogi, right? But so basically Jesus Christ is supposed to be, not only does he symbolize the sun, he symbolizes, right, a walking, living, breathing blueprint on, you know, the type of human that you're supposed to be, you know, kind, generous, non-conniving, you know, honest and stuff. You know, Jesus Christ is a blueprint for humanity, right? You know, so basically Jesus Christ represents your consciousness, right? And the devil, right, it basically represents, right, your ego, right? You know, your lower self, right? The thing that you really, the thing that, you know, that gives all the negativity, all negative things value, right? You feel me? Now, you know, as you know, Jesus Christ, you know, in the Bible it shows how he had the world at his feet, right? Just due to his psychic abilities, his psychic powers, due to him being connected to God, being like, you know, a son of God. And I had this in my head, right? You know, if Jesus Christ actually existed, like if he existed today, right? Because when it comes to these spiritual leaders, right, you know, they got like a lot of negativity pushed towards them. People deem them crazy and stuff. People deem them like, oh, what are you doing with your life? You're doing nothing with your life. You know, they just don't get it, right? Right. If Jesus Christ actually existed today, right, the people who talk shit about, you know, people like me, right, people who are all about detachment and devotion, don't really have any worldly concerns in mind, right? Basically Jesus Christ, right? If Jesus, that's basically how Jesus Christ is, right? If Jesus Christ existed, right, and he coexisted with you at work, bro, people are gonna hate Jesus. They're gonna be like, nigga, what the fuck? You know, you walking around with no ego, right? People gonna think that, you know, Jesus thinks he's better than everybody. You know, he got all these psychic gifts, all these spiritual powers and shit, right? If Jesus existed today, you know, he had all his disciples, all these people following him. He's walking on water and shit. He's doing all this crazy shit. Bro, he would have got crucified even quicker than he did, like, back in the day, right? Let's say, like, you knew nothing about Jesus, you knew nothing about the Bible, you knew nothing about none of that shit, and this nigga just existed today. Bro, my nigga, the same people who worship this nigga today, bro, they're gonna crucify this motherfucker. Bro, I'm telling you, the same niggas that go to church, right? The same niggas that go to church, right? They gonna crucify this nigga. He's too different. He's too perfect. You know, these human beings, right? That's just how they are. That's how they are, you know. If somebody's coming off like the perfect man, right, they're gonna crucify you, right? Because they're really just trapped in their egos, right? They feel like these human beings, they can't coexist with somebody who is objectively better than them, right? So for their ego to stay alive, they gotta crucify that person some way, somehow, right? You know, that's why, you know, you got friends that are jealous of you. That's why, you know, you go into hostile work environments. These human beings, they don't wanna coexist with somebody who is objectively better than them. So, you know, I say that to say this, right? Like I said earlier, right? Those same people that worship Jesus, those same people who go to church every Sunday, if Jesus actually existed, right, today, and you knew nothing about him, you're gonna crucify him. He's too different. He's too perfect, right? You can't find any negative traits about him. It's just like they crucified him back then. Bro, I'm telling you, if he existed right now, he would have got crucified way quicker, right? They're gonna be like, oh, he's crazy. He got these people, these disciples following him. Jesus Christ, he did get betrayed though. Jesus Christ got snanked out, right? I guarantee you, Jesus existed today, but he would have got snanked out. He probably wouldn't even have disciples. This nigga would have got snanked out way quicker, right? But, you know, Jesus realized, right? You know, he reached enlightenment, so he let those humans, he reached a state of enlightenment, so he let those humans crucify him, right? Because he understands, right, that this physical existence, he's not actually going to die if he doesn't exist anymore in the physical reality, right? All that's going to happen, right? Because Jesus had, like, you know, divine consciousness unlocked. Jesus Christ had killed his ego, right? All that's going to happen. His consciousness, his awareness is just going to get transferred somewhere else, right? So nigga don't give a fuck. He going to die for this. He don't give a fuck. I'm telling you, right? The universe, right? God, in actuality, the universe don't actually care about, you know, you as in like your ego. The universe don't give a fuck about you. You just a soul in a body, and it's up to you to achieve your dream life, right? It's either I can or I can't, right? And don't be around negative people, because these negative people, they know where you're going. They know you're going places. They know you gotta do something with your life, right? fuck those people, right? Stay detached, stay devoted to whatever spiritual deity. If you believe in Jesus Christ, that's good for you. You know, that faith in Christ is what's getting you through life. You know, I'm proud of you. I hope you achieve your dream life and shit, right? You know, stay devoted, stay detached, stay free from results, and just be a good person. Spread positivity, be on your P's and Q's, make a world a better place. But yeah, you know, I'm gonna tell y'all humans a secret, right? You know, the universe, right? God don't actually care about you, like as in like your ego, your identity. God don't give a fuck about you, actually. Of course, it's good. That don't mean, you know, rebel against the universe, the laws of the universe, because the laws of the universe still exist, right? So the universe is just actionary, right? The universe reacts to what you do, right? So it just reacts to what you do. But at the end of the day, right, you control your destiny, right? The universe is not going to control your destiny. It's not actionary, it's reactionary, right? Just try your best to be on your P's and Q's. Don't let people run over you, but be on your P's and Q's. Stay devoted, stay detached, you know, stay conscious and self-aware. Keep reading books, keep doing your spiritual practices. Spiritual practices makes you a living, breathing, walking phenomenon, right? Because once you open your third eye, right, your brain starts releasing this chemical called DMT, right? Now, this is a chemical that gets released in your brain when you go to sleep at night and like when you're having dreams and shit, right? So it's the chemical that gets released in your brain that is enabling you to have dreams at night. So basically, when you go into spirituality, you open your third eye, where your brain is releasing DMT during your waking life, right? So you're experiencing phenomenon. You are a living, walking, breathing phenomenon, right? You're a spiritual powerhouse, right? When I started my spiritual journey when I was 17, I was doing it for the best reasons, right? You know, I really had nothing else to do too, and I was like, you know, let me do the spiritual practices, right? You know, let me level up my avatar, right? There's levels to this shit, right? I'm at a level right now. I'm like, damn, I'm so thankful I started this shit when I was 17. I started when I was 17, right? And I started taking it more serious when I turned 20. Boy, oh my God. When I tell you, bro, when I was 20, I was begging the universe for my dream life, begging the universe for enlightenment, and I got what I wanted, right? I got what I wanted, but I had to go through so much pain and suffering, right? And that's what you have to go through sometimes in life, right? You got to go through pain and suffering. You have to. How are you going to learn any lessons? How are you going to be the best version of yourself when you're not aware of something? You become aware of something by learning lessons, by going through pain and suffering, right? Let's say even just for working out, let's say for the gym, right? You know, working out, me, I wouldn't even call it pain at this point, because I've been working out for years. I've been working out since I was like 16, 17 years old, right? I've been working out like a fucking dog, right? Since I was 16 and 17 years old. See, you know, I got to the point, right, where I could like not work out for a few months and still look like in shape like a motherfucker, because I do eat healthy, you know. But working out is technically, I got conditioned to the pain, right? Like I said, because I've been working out for years. But working out is technically a painful experience, right? You got to go through pain and suffering to get your dream body, right? If you got to go through pain and suffering to get your dream body, why wouldn't you have to go through pain and suffering to achieve your dream life? That's how it works. Everything's happening for you. It's not happening to you, right? It's all about perspective, my nigga. It's all about perspective. You have a positive perspective on something, right? Then good things will happen. You have a negative perspective on something, then you will forever be in your bitch ass, negative, sad ass, egotistical, narcissistic reality. That's how life works. That's how it works. You feel me? You don't get what you want in life. You get what you deserve. Right? And life is just way easier when you devote yourself to the universe. You devote yourself to the spiritual deities. And you do everything out of detachment. And you're a hard worker. You're disciplined. You gotta work for this shit, man. I'm working 24/7. Even when I go to sleep, I'm still awake. Now, some people might think, oh, what the fuck does that mean? When you unlock your awareness, when you expand your consciousness, When you realize you're just a soul in the body having a physical experience, you gonna know what I'm talking about. My nigga, I be working even when I go to sleep at night. Come on, bruh. My nigga, I got my dream life. My life is perfect. Can't nobody take that shit away from me. You feel me? Y'all niggas can hate on me. I know what y'all niggas are trying to do to me when you sending me those text messages. I know what y'all trying to do to me, right? When you call me on the phone trying to tell me what to do in my life and shit. I know what y'all doing, right? I got something that you don't have, right? Because you didn't do the work that I did. I'm a walking, living, breathing, spiritual powerhouse. I am a supreme being that manifested into this physical reality. And I'm going to keep leveling it up because I'm going to keep having that devotion. I'm going to keep doing things free from results, right? Nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me. You want to get on my level? You got to work harder than me. There's levels to this shit, right? I went through a lot of pain and suffering, right? I thought like, damn, right, if I'm doing everything perfect, right? If I'm doing everything right, I'm doing everything out of positivity. I'm doing everything in my power to be the best version of myself, to achieve my dream life. Why are so many things not going my way? Because I had to go through that shit. You have to go through pain and suffering to achieve what you want in life. There's no enlightenment. I beg the universe for enlightenment. There's no enlightenment without pain and suffering. It's Langston, I'm out.